Hello and welcome to DCP plus SideQuest. We got a lot to talk about this week. We got real Destiny stuff to talk about, like actual new stuff happened in Destiny this week. That's
we
new.
do.
Did it?
Oh. Yeah.
No, you tell me, Fran. You're the authority on these things for the next 7 weeks.
I forgot I'm the lore expert now.
Oh, you are.
Buckle in, everybody.
Promoted.
Wash your eggs and strap in.
We got new video games to talk about. We got I got an old-ish video game, one of the 2023 games that I missed. I finally am getting around to and enjoying. What do you want to do first? You want to go through Destiny first? You want to just jump into Destiny?
Yeah.
Maybe change things
Destiny
up
first.
for once. Yeah.
Let's do Destiny first.
All right, let's do Destiny first. What's
First.
going on? We got the end of the seasonal story this week, right?
End of the seasonal story and a big patch note update.
There was a big
on
patch
Crucible.
update. There was indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened in the story?
Fran.
Well,
Fran,
look,
that's your cue,
Let's be
Fran.
clear. If this is your first time listening to the show, I don't really know what's going on, so prepare to laugh. But yeah, I don't know that we should spoil in case people haven't caught up. Or I guess we do.
We kind of have to. We could just be like,
yeah, I guess you have to. So so you're gonna have to
spoiler
skip 5 minutes ahead or something, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be in the markers as well here on YouTube if you're listening there. If you want to skip ahead, but basically, we already knew this was going to happen. It's time for the crow to go to the other side. The crow's been selected as
somebody finally killed the crow.
Yeah,
not that other
link.
side, Briar. Unfortunately for you.
Damn.
Yeah, we
Briar.
finally wash our eggs, bring it to Riven. Riven keeps up her end of the deal and gives us our wish, which is like we want to get in to the Pale Heart. We got to get inside the Traveler. But the reason that it's Crow, as I understand it, is because he has this deep bond with Mara. And so they've decided they can only send one person because Riven, right, said, look, that sounds great and all. I don't got that kind of power. Like, even if I wanted to, I can only send one of y'all, right?
It actually wasn't about her power. It was the deal that Savathun wished for. And so it wasn't up to Riven. Like, Riven was like, even if I want to, like, I couldn't do it because it would kill me to change the deal. But Savathun wished for one person. And so she kind of let, the queen know, I guess, at the beginning of this week's story, like, hey, just a heads up, only one person going, or last week or something. And she was like, what?
That's so, right. Yeah, I think Mylan was laughing to that or something, being like, well, I guess Savathun decided that a long time ago too, and sort of built that into this whole wish system. But yeah, we do go back to the wishing wall and we make that final wish. Everything happens as was basically, it already pans out. So spoiler alert, there was no like big surprise. Now that could still be coming. My guess is it's more at the beginning of the final shape. But the big thing too is you see the crow step in, finally go through, and you realize that it's like, oh well, Cyrus has got to like still build a bridge and they got to like figure things out. It's not like that was the only thing for me that I wasn't expecting. And tell me if I got this wrong. Is he goes through and they're like, well, he's on his way. I guess it's going to be about 4 or 5 months. You realize that he doesn't just like tumble out of the portal. Now, I don't think it's necessarily meant to be that it's going to take 5 months, but I thought that was interesting the way they frame it. Is like, well, get busy, Guardian. Go kill some Vex because the crow's on his way, right? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, it kind of is phrased that way. I don't know why it is a journey. They mentioned a lot, and I kind of lost my train. Like, I lost the plot at one point when they were talking about the ley lines and how, like, no, the ley lines can't be used to go to the Traveler, but we're kind of are going to use them, with the wish magic to do things. And so I wasn't sure if that was involved or not by the end of it. And that's why he's like journeying to, like, that's the way that Savathun had him go. I don't know. It's very confusing because of the Savathun factor, because we don't know exactly what she wished for.
Right. And anytime I hear ley lines, I'm just like, what? What's happening with the ley lines? What's going on? Okay.
That to me is an instant reason to tune out to whatever somebody's saying. As soon as they mention ley lines, I'm like,
the ley lines.
I will
the
say
pyramids and Stonehenge are all connected by ley lines, and that's where the magical power comes from.
Yeah.
True.
I was going to say, I will say to pat them on the back. I mean, the story has been, we asked for it for many, many years, and now we've been living for the last few years in a very consistent, story-focused, seasonal model. We've got, that much going. Remember, we used to like see like a black and white sketch like once every 3 seasons or whatever. We'd be like, oh my God, why can't we get more of that instead of just the Vex offensive? And like, well, now you've got it. So on the plus side, I do think, hey, like I was engaged enough, even though I knew what was going to happen. I was like, this was good. And actually, shout out to the performers. I thought the final like little room they were in, talking to each other, and like Mara, even, whether or not it all makes sense in the world of Destiny now, like I did think the performances were really solid, and the writing and the voice acting. I was like, this feels dramatic. It didn't feel cheesy. And I've brought that up a number of times now, I think, but that you do have to give them credit for that as well. Like, this is like a fantastical, space RPG, whatever. And it could be very easy to be cheesy. Bungie has done a pretty good job, even if I don't understand as well what the ley lines are. Has done a pretty good job with making it feel dramatic and sort of right.
And on top of that, while it was like a simple thing, like underneath complex that we don't really know exactly, but like we understand the basic plot of what is happening. And there were no moments where we were like, that's so out of character. Like, why would that happen? Or, because even in Lightfall, there were so many moments where we were like, why didn't we just shoot the ghost? Like, why were we holding that weapon from a long time? Like, there were just all these things that like didn't make any sense in the cutscenes and that people were questioning. Whereas this story, it was very simple, and like the actors just played it well, and you were able to follow along well and even get invested in that moment. So I agree with that part too, Fran. I had a different experience. I'm curious. We were talking about this before the show, that I hadn't played any of the story except for the first week. And so I literally 24 hours, like just did the entire season. And it's because I wanted to see like, what would it be like compared to like a DLC that Destiny used to have? Like, what is a seasonal story like in a compacted, like that span of time versus what everybody else experienced just this last week, what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, you literally were sort of walking in a circle there. Hall projector, Mara's throne, go to the Dreaming City, come back to the Hall projector. Osiris is in the throne room. Go to how did all that feel compressed?
So I thought I would be really annoyed by walking from one person to the other a lot, because we talked about that a lot on the show. But honestly, that part wasn't that bad. The part that threw me out of what was happening was that there wasn't that many story missions that were like story missions. It was just like, go to the Coil, go to the blind well. And it was just those two things, kind of like, or a Senate plane, some Forsaken mission. But there wasn't, a new story vibe ever, except for the Wishkeeper mission, which I hadn't played that yet either. And so to experience that and then go into the finale, like back to back, that was really cool. Like that made it really satisfying to learn Riven's backstory and to have this kind of, I think you said there wasn't a twist at the end, but instead it was, the twist almost was that Riven didn't betray us, like Riven, like is kind of like, well, I kind of see my mate's point, I kind of see like the good in humanity. Like I kind of see the point in being good sometimes, kind of, and then on the flip side, you've got Mara, who used to be this character that was really sketch, never knew what, and Crow even more so. And they've both really come around. And to see their stories play out alongside Riven's was really satisfying story-wise. But story-wise, it was up here, and gameplay-wise, it was way, except for the Wishkeeper mission, was like way down low. Way down low.
I also heard, and we're kind of seeing that a bit in chat, but I also heard people being like, I think the story is good, but for it being the final part of the story before final shape, there wasn't this like big moment. There wasn't this big kind of payoff moment that you got to experience. It wasn't a spectacle of an event. So I saw people being disappointed about that, but overall, like in terms of the writing, they seemed to be generally pretty happy. But yeah, they just didn't get that big like, oh snap, before final shape happens.
Oh, I have something to add to that too, because there were a lot of moments that felt like maybe they could have been that. Like every time Osiris comes in and he's like talking jargon, but he talks as if in a movie, it would be the point somebody would be like, oh, I didn't realize I could put these two things together and we can go through this way to make it through the portal. Like, and he's like explaining it. And normally the music would kind of lead up to that in if it was like a cinematic piece, but because it's all in game and you're kind of like deciding where to stand yourself and these characters are walking on screen and the helm music is playing in the background, distracting me from what is actually happening. Like, I have been so frustrated by that narratively for such a long time because I want to have the music on for the story in the missions, but then whenever I listen to the story in the helmet, like majorly throws me off because it doesn't fit the moment I'm watching. I don't know why they haven't addressed that yet, but it would make a world of difference.
I can't remember what game it was, but every time you came up to like basically two people talking, you could pull in one of the triggers and it would just frame the conversation. So like as if it were a movie.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what game it was. It might have been an Assassin's Creed game. But it was
I think there's been a few
thing.
that have done that.
It would come up with a prompt on the screen, so you didn't have to do it. But if you did pull the trigger, it would just like kind of like zoom in and just frame the faces or like frame the shot like it was a movie, as opposed to just having you like kind of standing around looking stupid.
Was that in Horizon by any chance? I feel like I recognize it too. I don't know. Like that sounds really familiar.
Definitely, yeah. It would be very nice to have. Yeah, it's funny I didn't think about the helm stuff, but it washes over me for sure because we go back there so much. And yeah, like I usually feel the same way where I'm like, it just feels a little off with these non-cutscene moments because like you're standing there and rarely there's a couple cutscenes that they actually execute and animate, but overall you're just standing there listening and you got, I guess it washes over me. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. But that's a very good note. Yeah. It really is, depending on what the helm music is, it's a very different vibe.
It makes a difference. Yeah.
And some of those moments are so good, like when Crow's talk. Like I know Briar won't like this, but when Crow's talking to you and he's like, "Thank you for like being there with me and like by my side through all," and he kind of like repeats all the things we've gone through, and like that was a moment that could have been good, but then that dun 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 is playing over, and I'm like, what is happening?
The other thing I think about related to that is I suspect, but who knows, I'm not a game developer, I don't know for sure, but just the engine, it feels like it is still in an odd place where like you'd think they could at least do some basic panning to see your character there. Just because I'm always trying to do it myself, but literally they are talking to each other, like right when you go listen in, I'm like, what? Maybe they want you, maybe it's intentional, they want you like walking around like trying to look at like what people are saying, but I'm like, why don't they just freeze this, let you listen? And also to me it's a missed opportunity to show my character in the world, something I thought we'd see a lot more of. But even if it was just panning and go to like when Mara's speaking and when Osara's speaking, like put the camera on them. These are very, in most engines, again, this is a vast generalization, but it's like relatively easy to set up a camera and like, but why is it like with all the production power they have that like something like that? But it could be intentional for some reason too. I don't know, but I would personally like to see it as the point. I'm constantly acting as like my own director, like running to the other side. Then I'm like, as someone who's in a video, I'm like over the shoulder, and I'm like, the immersiveness is really a miss. But if you had the music, obviously, all with that, and that's where that thought came from, is like, well, if you do a locked-in cutscene, and it doesn't need to be crazy, you also could lock in some music and dip down on the helm music. So I don't know.
Man, I would love that. And not only that, but they have some tech like that already in the game. Whenever you like emotes and how you can like attach yourself to another player's emote and it fixes you in a place, like you could do that to activate this cutscene, like use like the emote tech to like put you in the right place so that Mara's actually looking at you, when she's talking, that sort of thing.
But that's why they should just have the cutscene, right? So I'd love.
Well, I want the option. I like having the option because if I don't care, I want to be able to walk away or I want to be able to goof around. I don't want to just be locked in like the 30th time I'm having this conversation with somebody.
Well, actually, if we're talking about the main weekly story, which is part of the quest step.
Yeah.
I mean, you can you walk away? Do they go on your like radio? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the moment. I don't. I'm trying to remember, like, when a cutscene will be queued in, say, the room with Riven. I'm like, did you even have an ability to walk?
I don't know.
Away? I don't remember. Somebody must have tried it, but would you really? You just walk away?
It depends, right? It's like if it's something new and important, then yeah, like lock me in, that's fine. But if it's like something completely like that I just don't care about, or if it's like the third or 50th time I'm listening to it, I don't want to be locked in. I want to be skipping that and moving on.
Right. But to me, that is addressed. Like that type of stuff is in the Howl projector or whatever. I assume, you can walk away, or maybe you can't from even some of those, but you should be able to. But if it's the main story, it's not that much of your time. Like you're just going to have to stay, and you're going to be more engaged if it's a cutscene is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is much needed. So regardless of the why, we're way too far past it. So at the very least, I hope Final Shape solves it. And episodic stuff that's coming up, we don't know the exact changes.
Yeah,
but they've got a lot of story now.
Find out.
Yeah, it is time to solve problems like that. That is where we just can't move forward. It's impossible for people to get past the Destiny 3 conversation if you don't show them a jump in the right direction. Because the thing I always bring up is like, look, I don't care what it is, what you call it. They need enough time to develop something that's a bigger leap and push forward. And so if you need to take more time between stuff, I hope we see some bigger improvements in June. If we don't, I think that is where people get really scared and tune out, where they're like, yeah, it was fun, but that was kind of just better than Lightfall. It can't be that. It's got to have all the quality of life, everything come together like, ooh, can't wait to see the next episode.
Yeah.
Story aside, even, gameplay and improvements.
I really hope they do a good job with Final Shape, bringing people like up to date with story 2, just like from cutscene, like narrative perspective, because this kind of plays into just something else that happened this week. The new Marvel thing came out for Echo, and they dropped it all at once. And
they did. I haven't seen it yet.
The first episode of that, I was kind of frustrated because so much of it was like flashback stuff, but it was really good. If you've never seen anything else or like haven't watched anything in a while, they spend like so much time showing stuff from other TV shows, other movies, like to like kind of fit you into that story and all these different things. And I hope that in Final Shape they can kind of do that. Like, this is what happened in Forsaken, this is what happened in like this episode of Destiny, and kind of like bring it all together. Because oftentimes I feel like they just show us like one little snippet of what Destiny has been, rather than like a lot of the culmination.
Exactly like what they did for Tekken 8. Give me a Brian Cox tells the story of.
I thought you said giant cock, and I was like,
that or that or that.
But sure, that sounds. It's like, okay, Jesus, Briar.
Some weird stuff in the Traveler.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Tekken.
That's even better.
Anyway, sorry.
Wow, I don't even remember what we were talking about after that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Whoa. I did have a question about the gameplay, but I don't want to take us aside if we're.
No, that's good. Let's do it.
No, do it.
I'm glad you had brought it up, Lego. I did want to know how you felt about the story being compressed, but my motivating factor was the gameplay. I've been whining about, I'm like tired of the coil. To catch people up, last week I complained that I was like, man, like that opening to last week, so the 6th week, not this week, you go to the Dreaming City and you go and you literally just kill enemies that are like 3 enemies at a time strewn across the biggest pieces of the land, and kind of meant to take people on a tour, but it's so unengaging. I was like, oof. I just either wanted to skip it, as it just as beautiful as it is. Dreaming City's like beautiful. That somehow I've arrived at it. I took a week apart on each of this, so I'm curious how you felt.
Yeah.
I got thrown back into the coil for this week, and I knew I was going to. And I literally was just like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm glad it's over. It started to occur to me like how much you get into the coil. You walk past Riven, you walk through the portals, and then you get to the spot with the first enemy, and you kill that first enemy, and then you make the jump. And like until it even gets going, you're like, man, I'm even just that part. But then you're searching for the plates. And the problem is I'm checked out and I'm kind of an idiot talking to the stream. So part of that's because I'm a streamer, but then I'm like, oh, I missed one of the plates. And like go back, because I'm playing solo. I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. The fights with the bosses are the only thing that I really, I still enjoy about it. And And those are fine, and they are kind of mixed up, but everything in between, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But how did you feel compressing all that gameplay into?
I feel very similarly like to the experience you have of like kind of checking out, but I also felt like while I was doing specifically the mission where you go around to the different spots in the Dreaming City, I was thinking to myself, like, I kind of like the whole search and like see things from a different angle, because they had those like triangle things hidden that gave you extra points towards getting it done, and like that kind of stuff is fun. But I just was such in a rush to like, I just want to know what happens, and it took forever to get from one place to the next that I was kind of just wanting to rush through it. But I do like that was better than going to the Coil again, in my opinion. Like, I feel like
it broke it up.
Yeah, I feel like with the Coil in particular, I would really love to see them separate what you do for loot, like the seasonal activity that you can loot, because the thing that we did for the story mission for the Coil wasn't even the most interesting version of the Coil. The best version of it is the one where you get these, you do cycles of it and you add on buffs, and then you're searching for the coins to like open the secret chests, and that's fun. And I like doing that version of getting a ton of loot. But this story version that you're literally just like, just get me to the story, just tell me what happens. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. So yes, I am on the same page with you, hardcore.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting. I'm always way more gameplay forward. Like I said, kind of a story idiot. Obviously, I've been playing Destiny for the nearly 10 years now, but I always want to see what's happening with the story. But in any game, it could be the most like amazing story. I am always like, it's about the gameplay. It is about the gameplay loop, the feel. And again, Bungie kills it on it is the best feeling first-person RPG shooter of its kind, and with all the builds, and it's incredible. But the Coil was fun for a little bit, and then like that was all really, is a letdown for the the seasonal content right before we go into the final shape. It's an unfortunate, like, my theory last week, I don't think you were on the show, was that they total conspiracy theory, right? I'm like, I honestly really get the feeling with this season they pulled as many resources as possible. We also know they had labor issues and they laid off a bunch of people. But I think the season was fairly big. But I think because of all things combined, they pulled so much to get the final shape to be as good as possible. And I still remain very optimistic. And it capped that off the way I framed it again last week to remind everybody. I said, look, it's usually every 2 or 3 years, but if we get Witch Queen quality and it's a little better, I'm still pretty happy. As much as everybody wants to complain about Destiny, I'm like, I get it, you burn out, but I'll be pretty happy if it's like Witch Queen quality, but a little better with now the new episodes or whatever.
Yeah, totally. I will say it feels like maybe because there was things in there that like, because I had just played the Coil to get like all my patterns done. I hadn't played much of the run that you do, like the other activity, and I kind of wish they would have saved just where you go to the astral plane and stuff within that one, that version of the Coil. You don't go to the astral plane in the normal version of the Coil, and so like they could have separated these things out so you only do that in the story, and I feel like it would have made it more interesting. Like, they did have content they could have like set aside specifically for the story, I feel like, and it just wasn't spread out in the right way to like keep your attention the whole time. And it sucks too, because like I feel like from the point that I hit the Wishkeeper mission that I was like really engaged from then on. Like up until then I was like, oh my gosh, like just get me to the thing, and then that happened and I was kind of invested in the story at that point to where the gameplay wasn't struggling as much because I was so like just hooked on the words. But I think you're right, there was a big like gameplay issue between the seasonal stuff versus the story stuff. Like that's what it is to me.
We just need more is the point. Like the dungeon is technically an aside, but if you include that, I'm like, the dungeon is great as usual. They've been doing a great job. And the exotic mission, which is part of the season, is one of the best parts about it, because and you can see the focus and quality of like the gameplay feel and just the enemy placements design. Like it's great. A couple other things I thought they did right as part of the season was at the end of this one, when you go to the wishing wall. I know some people have been to the wishing wall 1,000 times, but it was cool and must have been cool for people who haven't to go through that little side corridor and be like, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I
was thinking that too.
And then when you went to the Ascendant Plane, I think a couple of times, at the very least, when you went and did the one activity where the knights are chasing you. Again, I was fine going back to that stuff. So I bring this up because I feel like, again, that's where I feel like it was rushed. Those things played off reasonably well to me. I was like, I'm fine going back to these and an old Lost Sector or whatever. But then, like, when you went back to those, a couple, like Blind Well, no.
Yeah.
And then the walking around last week, it's same. I was like, those are two pieces I would have liked to avoid. But again, instead of going to the Coil every week over and over, that's where I would have been like, I don't know what the solution is. And it's tougher when you're designing everything to be cohesive. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, just bring me to a strike, bring me to something more fun. I don't know how you fit it in exactly, but I was just like, that's way more fun to me than walking around shooting 3 enemies and then walking around and just waiting for a meter to fill up with like literally Destiny 1 gameplay mechanics of like, you have to kill these enemies and pick up white triangles.
When you put it that way, yeah, that's rough.
It's true. You might as well go collect Spindle on your Sparrow. They could have done that too, right? Go get Barry and Bow on your Sparrow. And like, no, I don't want to do that. That's not fun. The gameplay is way more fun. It's evolved beyond that. Like, honestly, even as much as you might want to knock Lightfall, because it wasn't like a brilliant campaign, there's still pieces of it and like the special activities and some of the missions. I'm like, oh, this is fun, you know. And again, I'm trying to figure out like, how do we go back to that type of stuff that's fun? Like, I'm fine replaying that, but don't force me into these like wandering lost sectors that are not fun. They feel like 8 years old, you know.
Yeah. I totally get that.
I can just picture the narrative team, you know, because like the story overall, like, is pretty awesome, and I can see them like nailing it down, storyboarding it, and just being like, yes, like look at it, like look at this all laid out, and then like, okay, now let's translate it to gameplay. I don't know what their process is like or anything like that, but like I'm just imagining it, and then they're like, okay, well, we need some activities to do, and I'm sure they're used to doing that, and they're like, oh, well, to get Crow to be able to whatever, and to get Mara whatever, like we got to go kill these Taken things, and we're like, okay, yeah, you know, and it, like I can see it like working narratively, but like when you translate it to gameplay wise, it just didn't work for this season. And maybe they've just done that better at other times. Because I'm thinking back even to when, because I'm like, okay, reusing like assets that they have, because they've got to, like, maybe they're on a time crunch or something like that. There have been times where they've done that really well, like go into a Crucible match to do a story mission, and it's like, whoa, this is like a different experience. Like they could have brought us into the Dreaming City map that they brought back for PvP this year, and that would have been really an awesome mission. And it's like assets they have, but instead it was like going back to Blind Well, and it's like, I know that fits narratively for all that gibberish, but I don't understand it, and I just want to have fun the way that I shoot things.
When did we started doing Blind Well? Was it for Forsaken? That's when it came out, right? The Blind Well. And that was year 3 of Destiny 2?
Year 2.
Year 2. So we've had that for 5 years now. We've been doing Blind Well.
I mean, I hope you haven't been doing it for 5 years, but some people they grind out a catalyst, back to the like, wells, definitely.
You know, so sorry. They do go back to that well quite often. They use the
it does
Blind
feel
Well
like it
a lot. This is probably like the 3rd time it's been used for like a major like plot point.
Yeah, it's been around over 5 years. You're right. But I'm speculating, but I just feel like the resources were a little more hamstrung. Definitely feel it. I also brought up the interesting counterpoint. I think it's worth keeping in mind, and we probably discussed it to a good degree last week, but I was like, we used to pay for season passes and some stuff like to get the content in the pass. Really, now 2 weeks in a row, though, I've reflected on that. And I started to look and I was like, yeah, like I want the deep sight resonance. I'd love to have the ornaments. But in other words, we used to look at it like the $10-ish value. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just playing Destiny and I get this content. It is now moved into, you get the story, you get a new activity, and it's in part, it's easy to take for granted and no longer look at the value. And what my point I'm trying to make is like, I think we're still at the point in Destiny, and this is their problem. I would rather pay the $24.99 or the $19.99. You know, I'm always bringing this up of like, I need more fun things to do, and I'd happily fund that. But like, I don't think part of it is like getting people to buy into that. But I also don't think who knows how much it would cost, in other words, to always have an exotic mission every, season, or to always have, I mean, to me, I just want a new strike and a couple activities. Like, I'd be pretty happy. It was just a little missing this season is the way to put it. So if I had to double the price, in other words, to get all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I will say within this conversation, I at least have been a little biased because, like, my perspective is biased because I'm mainly a PvP player. And so I have gotten a lot out of the season in terms of, like, all the weapons that came with it and all the crafted stuff and, like, being able to utilize that stuff in the Crucible sandbox. I know that that is a controversial topic for a lot of people, like views on Checkmate and the current state of the Crucible and all that. But I have been having a lot of fun with all the things that I've been experimenting with and all the new builds that I've thought of with the new perks that we've had that came with the weapons that I paid for this season and the seasonal stuff. So, like, I have gotten a lot out of it in that side, and I did get stuff out of it narratively too. It's just PvE gameplay wise, not so much. Like, if the dungeon was included in it, like you said, Fran, then I would be like, yeah, that totally worth it. But because that was a separate thing, it's hard to recommend it all.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is just like it being worth my time. I actually do. The argument I'm making is actually that it is, if you finish the pass, if you play all the content, it's completely worth the money that they're asking.
Definitely worth the money. Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I don't want to do this quality of stuff on repeat that I'd rather pay twice as much. So when I do it, I'm having more fun. And like, that's, I don't know what it costs or how to make that work. We've certainly got more story. But again, because I'm so gameplay focused, I'm like, yeah. The Coil was kind of fun for me at first, but I still have more fun, I think, in a lot of other Destiny activities. Certainly the dungeon, obviously. So.
Oh yeah, the dungeon was really good. I know it's not a part of the season, so you can't like put it in the how the season was kind of box. But
in the ninth year of gameplay, though, Watts, like it to you think it still feels fun? It doesn't feel played out.
The dungeon.
Yeah, I'm just asking, like, in this conversation of, like, we've been playing.
I really like the dungeon.
I had fun.
I love the way that they adapted into a first-person, like, sci-fi shooter, making it feel like this medieval castle experience. I loved all of the way that I think that was actually a really good example of Bungie doing a great job of taking things that they already have, like the Scorn bosses and stuff like that, and obviously mechanics that they have in the game, and adapting them to quite a different gameplay experience. Because they were using stuff that they already had, but it did feel quite fresh in the way that they did it. So
yeah,
I think the dungeon was great.
Yeah,
very, very good.
There's one more thing that didn't happen this season that happened. So last season, we got reprised raid, but the season before that, we had Last Wish weapons redone and craftable. And I fully expected this season to get Garden of Salvation weapons craftable. Like that seemed like that was the trajectory, and that I'm guessing it's probably been like postponed if it is going to happen to like fill the gap between now and final shape at some point. But it does feel like if that were here, a lot of people would have a lot more to do if that was around. And it would have been kind of a part of the season that you got. But I guess that still wouldn't be paid content. So it doesn't really matter because that's for everyone.
It's a good point, though. So interestingly, like that type of stuff that I personally wouldn't be doing. It'd be nice to have, but as a part of the season, like it's really just the fact that it was only the Coil. It really needed, instead of Riven's Lair being a carbon copy without the buffs, it needed to be its own thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it needed to be a battleground or whatever. Like, I don't know the amount of work and the time to solve, but from a gameplay loop side, that would give you just enough to hopscotch from week to week and start to mix it up more, Yeah. We also got the patch stuff. I mean, are we going to talk about the patch notes too? Or?
Yeah, what's going on with the patch? I heard Checkmate. Some people are happy, some people are unhappy.
Yeah, I feel like we could summarize some of that pretty fast, because
let's definitely do it.
The main gist of it, I feel like, is that primary weapons for Checkmate are being raised to the status of like hand cannons, basically, and that doesn't mean that all the body shots, I think it's gonna like have the same TTK. I think they just mean the optimal TTK of the 3-tap on an adaptive hand cannon. That is going to like equal what the every other weapon is in the normal sandbox is going to be brought up to that. So it's all the other weapons are gonna feel a bit more powerful. I know hand cannons are kind of like the go-to in the mode, and that's one of the things that makes it fresh. But also they want to make every weapon viable, and they came out and said on Twitter, because another thing that happened was they said, hey, also for Clash and Control in Checkmate, you're gonna spawn with 2 special ammo, and everybody was like, wait, I thought the point of this was to not have a bunch of special ammo. They're like, no, only when you first spawn in. Like after that, you have to earn it. And then also they adjusted abilities to come back slightly faster. Supers stay the same though. And so with all of that, everybody was like, wait, I feel like we're heading in a direction that we didn't want Checkmate to go in. And then D2 Teams came out on Twitter and was like, hey, the overall vision is that we would incorporate some of this into the actual Crucible sandbox. And we're like testing stuff out, and everybody's like, oh, we weren't sure what the vision for Checkmate was. We understand a little bit better now, is what it felt like.
Yeah, they kind of said that they wanted Checkmate potentially to end up being what the baseline sandbox is for Crucible. Really? So they're trying to hit somewhere between Checkmate and what we currently have. So this is kind of their first go at a middle ground to see how it feels. But yeah, it's definitely not something that's over. They're not done testing it with people, so it's all up to be changed if we don't like it. I think personally for me, I was okay with the amount that abilities were up. I was fine with that with the old Checkmate rules. Weapon time to kill, I was more on the side of I don't think it really needed to be changed that much, but special ammo and abilities, it was the thing that I did enjoy. Although I am okay with us spawning with some ammo, because it means that you can use like the rocket pistol or the crossbow or Forerunner, right? We can use those weapons right off the bat. You don't have to wait to use them. But
Forerunner.
We'll see how it turns out. But it might actually be all right. The ability thing though, I was okay with how abilities were.
Yeah.
I was okay with it.
So obviously, I get that Destiny PvP is stagnant, and I assume Checkmate is to kind of like meant to say, oh, well, we've got a new mode. From a PvP player's perspective, I mean, Lego and Watts, I think that's all you. What is this trying to solve? What does it potentially solve? And what's the metric of success here?
I think Checkmate was wildly successful. Like it was one of the few things that came out that people were like, "Oh, this is actually good. I think you guys are onto something." But it's trying to solve the fact that it's not a first-person shooter a lot of the time in Destiny. It's a first-person ability or first-person you just die right away. So it was trying to get a more balanced gun primary focused gameplay experience. So that's what they were.
It's trying to be Destiny.
They were heading
year
towards.
1, right?
Well, that's what people are afraid of, I think.
I know.
Destiny 1, to be honest. They was trying to be more feeling like Destiny 1, because Destiny 1 didn't, at the beginning, didn't have these like crazy game-changing abilities and uptime.
And builds.
So,
it was like somebody would drop a Nova Bomb, or the type of nade they used was a little powerful. But you're right, it wasn't like you just froze me in place over and over again. And now I'm levitating and can't move. I mean, all of these, like, I can't move abilities are, for starters, like a crime. But so I guess I get that. Okay, so it's solving, you guys think, in part that PvP's gotten away from it being just kind of core competitive, but not off the rails.
I think that they're kind of like that both are a part of the core gameplay experience of Destiny, like those crazy abilities and special weapons that delete people, and also the primary gunplay. And it's very hard, I think, with the version of the sandbox that we had before with just normal Crucible, to make changes to that to see what works and what doesn't, because people would be like, what the heck are y'all doing? Whereas they brought in Checkmate, and it's like, oh, it's this new game mode. And they said they have modifiers they can adjust so easily. And so they can kind of make those changes to see, like, how can we find that middle ground between, because abilities are like kind of way out of hand right now, like Watts was saying. And it's just a way to like not bring it back to D2 year 1, because that is the fear. You brought that up. And I think that is a common sentiment. Like, that's not just like a joke. Like, people like really feel that. And You know, I don't want that either. And I don't like, I'm even afraid of D1 last year where you had special ammo boxes on the ground. Like, I don't want that either.
I don't want that. No.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, where do you find that middle ground when you still want special ammo to be really fun and powerful? And I think they're just trying to hit that, and Checkmate is their test ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get that. So I think, though, what I'm hearing from you is that this is a testing ground to put PvP in a better place before it's rolled out to these other modes. Like, in other words, do you see them being replaced with this sort of balance changes?
Yeah.
That's what it's. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's not. So do you think there's room to leave, you know, the current ability stuff around in any? Is it fun? Is it fun to have around, you know?
I think Destiny needs abilities. And they
well,
need to be
just to
in
be
this
clear,
form.
To be clear on the question, is the way that it currently is on control and other stuff, do you think there's room for it to remain around after they fix stuff in Checkpoint?
Not really. Like, I feel like there's, if we get to a better place where everyone can come together and we're not splitting the population, then that would be best for the game. Of course, there's, you know, there's stuff like Mayhem, and maybe there's a version of the game we have now that gets thrown in something like Mayhem and people can play it every once in a while. Be like, oh, it's like this used to be, you know, that'd be cool. But I think overall it's best for not to split up those people who want a hardcore PvP experience and the people who want the casual. Like, it kind of all needs to come together, and that's really hard to do, but I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I do like PvP, for the record. I just don't play it enough to be anywhere near you know, an expert to talk about it anymore. I used to more so just play Trials because I just love how intense it was. But I got people carrying me. It was still out of whack back in the day, but it was fun. But I do enjoy it. And yeah, like I think to what you guys are saying, I don't play it as much because of the things I sort of joked about. But I'm like, I do want to be able to hop in and not be like, why is everybody using this gun, stunning me with this, freezing me with this? And it's just like, it's a spam of annoyance meta, as opposed to like, yo, why can't I just equip a Hawkmoon and a Matador like I used to and have some sort of feeling of chance versus like, well, what's the build? Better go to YouTube to find the exact spam meta build. That's where I'm at with it.
And what I think is cool is with, you know, some changes to Checkmate, depending on how hard they push into like nerfing special ammo or abilities, there is still like, it makes builds even more important if they do this, because, you know, if we head down this road of less abilities and less special ammo, maybe not, you know, D1 or like year 1 D2, but some version of less, it makes builds interesting. I put out a video of the Iron Banner fusion that has Discord on it, that like, you know, these special weapons that have Discord, if you play it right, you use your primary and then you have infinite special ammo for like 8 seconds. And it's like, there is interesting things you can do that aren't like just broken. You every time you spawn, you have infinite special ammo. It's not like that. It's like you got to do something and work towards it, just like you would Hawkmoon building up that one tap. That it's possible, but you just got to build into it and work up to it. And I think that that's cool. There's abilities that you can have certain guns with a certain role, like perks like Wellspring and Demolitionist, like become more important because of the lack of abilities. So yeah, I think that it could become a lot more interesting of a sandbox depending on how far they push into this. That it's just so difficult because you don't want to go too much no abilities and then scare everybody away who loves the Destiny space magic. That's a difficult line.
And the good thing about it is that it's not a mode, it's a modifier. So they are, and they've said this, that they're able to much more easily change things than if it was like an actual mode. So because it's a modifier that they can put anywhere, not only can they put it anywhere, but they have the ability to switch it up really fast. So I saw Mercules on Twitter was just like, guys, hey, we can change it super easy. If you don't like it, you know, it's not a difficult thing that's going to take us years or months to change. So, yeah,
I love
that.
That's good. I think that's awesome.
And then, like, real fast, the last part of this, if I may, was just like, if they get Checkmate to the place it is, they roll out these balance changes, and now we have all these old maps that we're used to playing, etc. Like, is that what you guys are hoping for from Destiny? Like, what is, once they solve this, if they solve, what are the other pieces that need to come with it on either a seasonal and or yearly basis to be like, oh, I'm totally in, you know?
For me, I think it would be being able to have consistent new maps. Just because like I think people don't really understand exactly why new maps are really important, but when you play the same maps for years and years and years and years, everyone's kind of solved it. You know where people spawn, you know where people go, you know everything about it, you know where everything is. Whereas on a new map, no one knows what's going on. So if you keep adding those consistently, and it doesn't need to be like every season, but even if we did it every year like we used to have it, it makes such a big difference with making things feel fresh that I think that would be an important thing for them to be able to do.
They got to be good maps though, because
definitely
there was a long period of time where they were adding maps, but they were all like these they were all the size of they're all huge maps, like they're all gigantic, and you'd get on there and it felt like you're just running around. You'd get in a firefight, it'd be over, then you'd have to respawn and run back to the firefight. It felt like you were doing more running than fighting, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, and at least the new maps that they've said are coming are ones that are going to be more kind of mid-size and small size. So yeah, I'm hoping those ones will be good.
How cool would it be if this would be my dream, Fran? Your question of like, where do you hope they go with this? I hope that they figure out what they're doing with Crucible by May when they drop that map pack and they release like the new Crucible and all those 3 maps at the same time. Like that would be, I feel like a boost to the way like people coming into Crucible, people who have been there the whole time, like a refresh, like, oh, what's going on? You know, like it would just be a reset button for the Crucible almost if they could do that,
cool.
find a way to like that sounds rushed, but that would be awesome.
It feels like it's kind of moving that direction based on what you guys said, though. Like they're really working on the balance of Checkmate, maybe with that goal of being wrapped up by, you know, late March or whatever, so to speak, so they can like be like, we're rolling out something new. Like that would be great. We haven't had that moment. I had waited for many years for the PvP update. I'm like, it's coming, it's coming. You could find old clips of me, and then all of us thought it was coming, and it never did. But maybe now we're at a point where they've got something to put out there and put a stake back in the ground.
And, you know, that it would be, the more I think about it, the cooler it would be, because Trials of Osiris coming back could have been that, but it was the exact same gameplay when Trials came back, and so nothing really, like, it didn't feel that different. It was like, oh, it's just everything everybody's been complaining about the whole time. It's just in this Trials setting. But I do think that loot will be an important factor too. That is a big thing for me. Like if they put interesting loot in the Crucible, because like you got like the Crucible shotgun and like Riptide, like these aren't Crucible weapons that you should use in the Crucible. And like why isn't the Crucible stuff like interesting for the Crucible? Like make it good stuff that I want to grind out and then try out in the Crucible. They're kind of doing that with comp, but I would love to see them just do that for the whole of Crucible and continue to innovate that the way that they do seasonal stuff, because seasonal stuff gets a ton of new weapons and perks, and I want to see that for Crucible. That would be great.
Totally agree. So most I played Crucible recently was when it was Iron Banner and there was a weapon that I really wanted in Iron Banner with a specific role, and I was playing it a lot. And loot is a big important thing in a looter shooter. You're gonna want to have interesting loot everywhere so people can go and get it.
Well, especially when it's part of PvP and you're like, that role is more meta, and like that I think is cool, and that's what makes Destiny interesting. It's just when you blend it in with the crazy annoyances of the rest. But yeah, like, oh, this season's, you know, sidearm with this stuff, that is totally, and I know that it's probably still kind of out there, but to me it feels muddled with the like, just use stasis, just use strand, or whatever it is that will annoy you.
Just use the Spectre, like putting out your decoy, shooting it, making the
threadlings go out.
Oh my gosh.
Threadling grenades.
Yeah. This is stuff I don't even know for sure. Like I've played it and I'm like, what the frick was that, you know?
I hate that Strand, a small tangent, but I hate that Strand, which is the movement class, ended up being this like ability spamming class.
That is frustrating because it's so fun and it is so mobile.
It's so fun to play just the mobile movement-based version of Strand Hunter, and it's just even when I was running I was running Spectre when it first came out, and I was running it with bomb pants. I was using it to counter Titans running at me with a shotgun with an overshield and another shield and another shield, and that was like, even then that was a lot more manageable. But now it's just like throw threadling grenade, throw your Spectre out, shoot the Spectre. Yeah, it makes me sad.
Yeah,
it's a cool class. That's when it's not used like that.
Well, I am still optimistic. Yeah, I forgot that it was all releasing. They promised that like pack of things releasing just before the final shape, huh?
Yeah, I know. I feel like that is why it's so far off, though. Not just for like designing maps, but also getting Crucible in a good place. So that makes like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh man, that would just be the thing for Crucible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like with what you were saying too, with needing more loot, like again, maybe getting all that stuff rolled out the month before final shape-ish. Well, I don't know if it's May 4th versus June 4th, but like a little time to like work out some bugs, and who knows, the matchmaking changes. But then, okay, with the final shape, we've also got this loot. Well, we can hope. Don't let us get your hopes up and be mad at us though. Like,
anything else in the update that we want to go over?
There was a Thorn nerf that people were very upset about.
And Peacekeepers,
Catalyst,
Titans.
And some stories just stay the same year after year.
It was really funny because I have been kind of out of the loop with Destiny recently, and I heard people were really mad on Twitter about the Thorn thing. So I'm like, let me read it. And I read it, and I was like, you're losing like a teeny bit of thing and gaining like a teeny thing. It's like, we all know that the Catalyst was really good. When we saw that it was announced, we're like, you're giving what for getting a kill? Like every stat in the game?
I saw tweets about it. I was like, oh, did my Twitter feed from 2014 come back around? Like, what's going on here?
It's really not that bad.
Is this it? So for the Thorn Catalyst, change stats from plus 20 range and plus 10 stability to plus 15 range and plus 5 stability and plus 5 airborne effectiveness. So they took away 5 range, 5 stability, but they added 5 airborne effectiveness.
Correct.
And that's a huge nerf.
It was the end of Crucible as far as my Twitter feed was concerned. So I was expecting like something really bad. I was like, did they take away the range or something? You don't get any range?
To Briar's joke, if you're crushing on Thorn still, man, like, come on. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be mad about wanting like a gun you love. But there's a lot of weapons. I would hope that it didn't ruin the entirety of Crucible, like Watts was saying there. That you were saying.
I think it's okay.
You're gonna get canceled on the show now for saying
maybe.
This is okay.
I think I'm like, okay, yeah, it was an adjustment, and it definitely is a nerf to like probably the stats that you care more about. But we already knew when they announced the Catalyst, we're like, that you're giving that much, that feels like a lot.
I mean,
so for them to just like bring it down a little bit, I feel like it's really not that. It's still a great Catalyst.
I mean, you guys tell me that's a 25% reduction in range, though, which is big. But isn't that the problem?
No, think about it like this. It's like getting extended barrel instead of full bore on your barrel. Like, it's like hardly anything.
You don't
like,
think you feel the damage take that big?
I have so many people make fun of me whenever I recommend running something like full bore because it takes away so much stability and handling. They're like, why would you just run Hammerforge or whatever? Like, keep the handling. And I'm like, no, like, I care about that little tiny bit, but I'm not also gonna like blow up about it either, because it's like 5 range on a hand cannon it's just like minimal meters in difference. Like I'm guessing 0.5. I'm not sure, but it's like very, very minimal where you're not gonna feel it as much. So I think that it's just a lot of people really like Thorn right now, and so of course your baby gets messed with. Yeah, that's all it is. I think
I do get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There was something else in this patch. There was like a dungeon fix, and I want to talk about it for a second because I want to talk about
a little bit.
Fireteam Finder after that. But first, the dungeon fix. I've been playing this dungeon nonstop because I'm in RNG hell and it won't give me just 2 perks together on the bow. I have been counting. I'm at 44 drops. This thing only has 6 perks in each column. So like I've got like a 1 in 36 chance to get it. I've had 44 drops and have not gotten it yet.
Jesus.
And so I have played this dungeon a lot. And the mechanic that they changed, that they said they fixed, is when the big scoring guy drops his blight that you have to capture. And they're like, okay, we fixed it to where he doesn't, I think the bug where he drops it on the floor and you can't capture it. I think that's what they were trying to fix. And now he just waits forever to drop the blight to the point where he doesn't drop it sometimes at all.
That was the most annoying thing actually when I did the dungeon, was standing there and waiting for them to drop the stuff. So the fact that it's worse is
worse.
Good,
it's so much worse. In my rotation of like a 2-minute grind for the first, like if you 3-man and know what you're doing, that first boss, you can like get it done in 1 rotation, 2 minutes. It takes like 5 minutes now every time because we're just sitting there. Ads are spawning in. Still hasn't dropped it. Kill all the ads. We're still sitting there. Another wave of ads spawn in. We're like, guys, what is happening?
I don't think I had that happen. Yeah, this is the totems that you light.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Fixed an issue during the second encounter where the right side warlord would sometimes not summon a totem after doing the animation.
But whatever they changed, it affects that mechanic on every encounter. And so it screws up both encounters heavily.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ain't easy.
Some things
ain't
never
easy
change.
out there.
Yeah. So hopefully that's reverted soon.
Okay.
But that leads me into, and this wasn't on the patch, I just wanted to talk about it for a second because I think it's really interesting. Not that many people are using Fireteam Finder, and I've been using that a lot for grinding that dungeon out, and it has been a lifesaver because there's so many times you only have like this weird like midnight to 1 a.m. to grind, none of your friends are on, and you're like, okay, let me just use Fireteam Finder. The problem with Fireteam Finders, and maybe y'all have talked about this on the show before, on an episode I wasn't on, I'm not sure, but you click a symbol Fireteam or summon Fireteam, and it deletes the lobby that you created to gather that fire team and takes you out of your activity and puts you into orbit together, which is like, okay, great, it summons everyone. But one,
bit of a hack.
Yeah. So there's like 3 different things that happen. Like 1, it takes you out. 2, if people leave and stuff, you can't come in and out. You have to create a whole new listing to get a player back again. But y'all, if you don't hit summon Fireteam, literally just don't hit the big green button that Destiny's telling you to hit, the listing stays open and you can invite them manually, like as if it's like a temporary friends list. And then dude,
just to be clear, you're saying it didn't bring them to orbit sometimes?
No. So you don't click summon Fireteam. Instead, you just click on their names and invite them to your activity. And
but if they joined already, meaning why is summer? I missed that part. Why does the summon thing not work correctly for you?
No. I'm saying the summon fire team doesn't work because then say if you're farming something, you complete it, you need to switch to your alt to go back to the checkpoint. And whenever you switch,
disbands after
it disbands, leave. Yeah, and so you have no way to access those players unless you added them to your friends list. So to get around that, if you just leave the listing open, like, and don't hit a symbol Fireteam, summon Fireteam, you can invite the players, and then that listing stays open while you're farming the activities. You can switch characters. It keeps that listing open the whole time, and then you can even, if somebody drops, it instantly fills them with somebody else. It's like the way it's supposed to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that does sound how it should be.
Just for clarity, I think I understand, which is after you finish something, players themselves tend to disband. I do think it keeps you in a fire team, but they tend to just disband, and then you're like, wait, we were having fun, but there's no record of who you just played with, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that is no way. They're like, but wait, like, what? Do you want to do something else? Or do you want to run it again? And it's like, you got to go back to the fire team or the listing. And so maybe they could solve that a few ways, is why I'm bringing up those mechanics. I'm like, well, maybe there's just a history of who you just played with, Or like that's a great idea. Now that you bring it up, is like instead of you having to leave it open, which is a cool little hack way to do it, maybe it would have the last thing that you did as a team or some way to like, do you want to do it again? Apex does something like that, I thought, right? Where like if you played with a team and matchmade, it brings you back to the lobby, but it sort of shows you ready to matchmake again together, and you can join and invite and needs more stuff like that.
So my solution, my like feedback to Bungie, if they were to like improve this, is to not like just have a like history of it, but whenever you hit summon Fireteam, just leave that Fireteam thing in Fireteam Finder, your lobby open, like not open to the public, but like just so y'all can see it no matter what, until you choose to leave. Like just leave your Fireteam available and accessible from that, because that's how I've been using it, and it feels like it was meant to be used like that. The way it will replace a player if they leave just so quickly, the way that you can access it even if you switch characters, like it just stays no matter what until you decide you either boot a player or they just decide they don't want to be there anymore. Like either way, it works great.
Yeah, ideally they'd have like a last activity, would you like to rejoin, quick button, but
or
also
like stay
who
together.
you just but also just who you just played with, so you could send them a message even or an invite, at the very least. Like,
isn't there a
and
list
them
somewhere
knowing
of like your recent players?
Isn't
there somewhere
under the roster? I feel like there's not, right? Like in most games,
there is, but it's on BNet. You can't do it. You can do it in BNet and like click on the player in recent activity, but it's not in game. Yeah.
Wait, why is it even on BNet anymore? Since like you can't play it there anymore, right? It's on Steam.
No. It's got your Bungie, not Steam. It's
Bungie.net.
You mean your Bungie? Oh, I thought because BNet is Blizzard.
BattleNet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, no.
No, I'm good. Because other people must have been thinking that. I got you. It shows it on like Bungie Net website and/or app. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that would be I agree with you. Like, and I've said this since the outset of even just matchmaking, period. Put aside Fireteam Finder. Like, we need more. We just matchmade in a strike. Like, you don't even have to come from Fireteam Finder. Now, what if we want to stick together? Would you like to keep playing? We need those prompts. We need quick join. All those things need to happen, hopefully, in the final shape. That would be big.
That's great. I love the Apex example you gave. That's perfect. That is like the idea
it's like,
to go.
I'll join. I'll do another one. It's that simple. Would you like to do another one? Yep. Don't even care what you want to do. Sometimes that's it too. You're like, I'm just here to play, man. It's hard to find like reliable people. But shout out to where it's taking us. I've been also saying Fireteam Finder I've enjoyed. And real fast again, if you remember, a few weeks ago I said I used it to do what I'm going to say is the best thing you can do with Fireteam Finder is go in to the Legend Nightfall, the 1830, which you normally don't get matchmaking for. And you get Boku rewards and just put in needs experience, needs warlock, because I'm not a warlock. And man, like I've had very quality, consistent times when it's, people just jump in and we don't talk at all. People are patient. And that is the best example of the thing we've been asking for a long time. So I encourage you to try it. But there's not a lot of listings out there. That's what's odd. I go looking before I create. I'm like, there's like nothing. But then I create, which I'm wondering if we're seeing everything, but I'll create it. It's been pretty fast that people jump in. So either way, I know we're kind of in a beta phase, but there are good signs in here. And I can't wait to see it come together, because stuff like that, huge, being able to do like a Nightfall hero mission. That's the stuff I like to do. And I didn't have to like painstakingly put a group together. I just made a thing and did it. I did it within like 20 minutes. I did it all. I didn't have to like go to another website.
I wonder if
I'm
they could
so
do
glad
like
you mentioned that.
A story mission or like some kind of mission like in the story of like some part of Destiny that steered every player toward that, right? Like, here's how
Like
you
the
do this
Finder?
mission. You got to go to the Fireteam Finder, click it, and run everybody through it, just so like everybody becomes aware of it all at once.
Yeah, I think they're waiting, right, to shake the dust off, get some feedback, because it's certainly like, Lego just had some feedback. I've certainly had it, but it's moving in the right direction. I agree with you. It is so hidden that it's almost like scary, that I hope they're not like, ooh, it's not like, I mean, know if we're seeing everything, but I'm like, it seems like there'd be a lot more people using it, but it's kind of hidden, and I think that's intentional right now.
I think people are kind of afraid to do the create your own. Now that I'm used to it, I just not no brain it. I'm just boop boop boop. I'm in. I'm grinding the dungeon within like 1 minute. I got people in because there's always people searching. I think there are people still hesitant to create, but there are always people searching. And I'm glad you brought up the Nightfall version that they don't matchmake you with, because I was like, oh, that's such a, now that I know how easy Fireteam Finder is to use, I'm gonna for sure use it for that.
Be swimming in Ascendant shards. It's a great problem to have. As long as you can hold your own and you're decent. But I haven't tried Grandmasters. I think you can matchmake Grandmasters. Yeah. That's my next like bold test that in the next like several months we'll see. But that's got to be interesting because those are obviously way more challenging.
Yeah, or raid. That's like I'm scared to do it with a raid, but I've heard good, like they've listed their reports. It was like 50% completion rate or something. That's pretty good for
it was higher than I expected seeing it. Yeah, it was a lot higher than I expected when they said what the completion rate was.
Probably the current raid though, and that makes sense. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit because I tried Deepstone Crypt and it was a disaster, which was fine. Like I was still more than happy to go in, and we did a couple runs. Nobody knew what they were doing. There was nobody communicating. I forgot how to play it out there trying to watch a Rick Kakis video like while I'm live streaming. Like, what? I don't remember. And then I'm like typing in the chat, can anybody hear me? I'm on like the mic and like nobody's responding, and like, but I was still happy that you could attempt it because I still need the Eyes of Tomorrow. So it's on the right track. But again, I'm glad it's there. My feedback is they kind of need like a teacher badge, or like they really need to get the teachers, the Epic Dans of the world, like to be floating around there. That meaning, in other words, when you join, somebody, hopefully you can find those matches because someone's going to like help you versus like when it is so random that nobody knows what they're doing. I mean, you do waste your time, and that over time you might lose faith in it. So.
I like that you bring up the tags of like someone like Epic Dan, or someone like Ill Physics in the Crucible to like go through like stuff like that. Like I think that would be great to have those labels because right now they're focusing it on the rank system, and the rank system is a terrible metric for any, like you can go in there and say only people like Guardian rank 9 and up.
That's it. And it's really like bad.
I've been a 6 forever because I just don't care, and I will always be that until it is meaningful to me in some way. It should not be a judgment call of like how to, whether you should be allowed in this fire team or not. Yeah. Okay, that's my Fireteam Finder. I had to go on it because it's so good and so many people aren't using it. And like if you haven't tried it out, go try it out. I know it's got some things that don't work great, but there are workarounds for a lot of it. And once you get the hang of it, any activity you want to do, just boom, grab people like that, go. It's fun.
Agreed. Preach.
All right, I'm gonna change topics to another game.
Okay.
I finally have started playing Jedi Survivor, which is the follow-up to Jedi Fallen Knight, which I adored. Jedi Fallen Knight. I will say, coming from Liza P directly to Jedi Survivor does not shed the kindest of lights on Jedi Survivor, especially in the combat arena, because they're both trying to be, have that like Souls-like combat with, like you're going to fireside checkpoints and, kind of roaming around, not an open world, but kind of like a connected world and opening shortcuts and that kind of thing. Also, the controls are kind of the opposite with Liza P. It's R1, R2 for attack and heavy attack. They changed that up for Jedi Survivor to be square and triangle, which is just breaking my brain. Even I'm 6 hours in and it still hurts because I like run up to an enemy and then I force push him into the wall. He's like, "What the fuck, dude?" Instead of like assassinating him from behind. But I will say that once I kind of am getting used to the combat, which is a little looser, I would say a little sloppier. The mix of what this game offers, I'm actually having a good time with, because what they do is they kind of offer like a a Tomb Raider-esque kind of like climbing and exploring kind of vibe, along with that Dark Souls kind of combat and level layout vibe. Plus you have, I would say, a really good story that is, part of the connected universe of like kind of the newer Star Wars franchises, like Mandalorian and Ahsoka, like that kind of time frame and that kind of stories. Like you're starting to see connections in the story. So I'm actually having a good time with this. It took me a little while to just kind of get used to the combat. Really weird though. I don't know exactly how to explain this, but I don't feel like my character is like connected to the ground. I feel like my character is kind of like my mouse cursor and I'm scrolling the level around underneath him. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't feel like he
it makes sense. Yeah.
Walking through the level. It just feels like he is an animation that is like on the ground while I just manipulate. It's like playing like monkey ball almost, where I'm not controlling the character directly. I'm more controlling, like I'm just moving around. It's acceptable. I'm getting used to it. The combat's obviously not as good coming from Liza P. But I would say as I get used to it, as I unlock more abilities, you actually unlock a bunch of stances to use with your lightsaber. So instead of having, finding new weapons or, modifying weapons, you're modifying your lightsaber. You can customize it visually, but you also get you can have two lightsabers. You can have one lightsaber. You can have a lightsaber staff with double. And then I just got a heavy lightsaber that is kind of like what's his name from the newest 3 films, the bad guy, where he's got like the cross.
Kylo Ren's,
yeah, Kylo Ren's lightsaber, where he's got like the
heavy sword,
yeah. So, which is kind of fun, and you can even use a blaster. You can use lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other, which is like totally not Jedi, but totally feels pretty unique to this game.
Yep.
The game is freaking gorgeous too. Like it's real good looking, and it's gotten a lot of criticism based on kind of its technical prowess, which I think is deserved. Like even when it's really good looking, there's always just something like you have mounts
loading
in this game. Like cutscenes. Like you just see pop in. Like every time they switch the camera from character to character, you see pop in every camera cut.
Which platform again?
I'm playing on PS5.
Okay.
I've played at 30 and I've played at 60 frames per second. The game looks so good at 30 frames per second that I really want to play it in the 30 frame per second mode because it just looks so good, but it's just chugging, man. It just is chugging. Like it's really having a rough time.
So you're saying it might even be struggling to hit 30, or it just feels...
No, it's definitely struggling.
Yeah, there could be slowdown in there too, like actual physics slowdown, and
there could be.
I mean, I played it at launch, and because of how disastrous the PC version, at least in my setup, was, I had to stop. I couldn't continue to play it. I've heard that it's finally improved, but yeah, it was really... That's one example of a game I used that should have never been multi-platform release at all time. Like we've gotten accepting of like, well, they'll patch it later. Like what a waste of my time and money.
It really feels like this should have gotten another year.
Waited. Yeah. And maybe that's the real point here is even you're saying the PS5 version, even now still feels like,
but like once,
and stuff.
Once the game is out, you can patch it, but it's not like you got the full team on that project trying to improve that game. In fact,
definitely not.
They just provided a patch today.
Really?
Yeah, it was all like accessibility stuff though. So it's like there's nice. Like a high vis mode that like kind of really enhances the contrast. There's a new slow mo kind of enhancement mode. So like if you're having difficulty with the combat, you can just like basically put it into slow motion mode and do it that
all
way.
that stuff should have been in there,
Yeah.
It should have waited. I agree. Just
I will say like it's still got technical problems. I think for me they've been kind of easy to ignore. I think the story is really fun. If you're into Star Wars, if you like the first Fallen Order, then I think you'll still like this. And I think it's also at a reduced cost. I bought it I think at Best Buy for about $30 or $35. And you know,
Oh,
I
wow.
think at that price, you know,
I can't.
It's pretty fun. It's a
And
pretty
you
fun
said
game.
it's tying into Ahsoka now too, kind of
Yeah.
like because I as I was going through that series, there kept being things that everybody'd be like, oh, that was in the game too, and like all these things connecting, and that alone intrigues me. Like just knowing that story is good, knowing it's a beautiful game, and now it's tying into the rest of the Star Wars universe as well. I'm like, oh, I might need to do that.
I can't remember the name of the actor who plays the main character in this, but people are begging to get him into one of these shows, right?
Whatever.
Yeah, because he's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely still got some technical issues, and it doesn't feel like it's tight like a Souls-like as something like Liza P, but that's best in class. I think if I hadn't just played Liza P, you know, if I had like a game in between, I wouldn't have just like been noticing it so much, you know?
And again, very focused on combat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron Monaghan, by the way.
Yes, he's very good. He was in Shameless as well. He was great in Shameless.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, just for the record. Like, I always thought it was good, but the technicality stuff was ruining it for me. So I was like, well, I'm just going to wait. So I can't wait to get back to it. It's totally my type of game.
Yeah. I will also say some of the longer sections of kind of climbing, like kind of, you know, Tomb Raider style, they get a bit old. You're kind of like, okay, I just want to get there, you know, like, because there's no real danger. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing that, you're really just kind of like holding up or left and like.
I think you've been playing too much Liza P, Briar. That's what I think.
Maybe.
No, I don't. I think you're probably right. Like it kind of sticks to the formula that it had. Like in the first game, you'd be like sliding down, you know, a cave, and some of that stuff was like not the best part of the game, but it was like sort of in an old way of like, well, that's part of games like this, and I like that.
Yeah,
but
it does add some like spectacle too, like because they use those scenes to really like, oh shit, this is blowing up, and oh my god, the ramp blew, and the bridge is going out, and oh my god, boom. So there is some of that, and that's fun.
See,
that's
awesome.
Something that Liza P was really lacking, in my opinion, is like kind of the spectacle.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't really a spectacle.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd recommend checking it out at least if you're.
How far into it are you?
I'm only 6 hours in, but I expect to keep going. I definitely want to see the story. Oh, they do offer a story like recap for Fallen Order that is completely useless. Nice. No, it's not. It's completely useless.
Okay,
like, I played the whole game. The game is only 15 hours, you know, like the Fallen Order. So I was like, oh, this should catch me up. It is so vague. It glosses over everything, and it does it in like kind of like this real like they're projecting images on other things. So you can't even really get a feel for what it is. I did kind of think, oh, maybe it's because some characters they're still using the old models, and some characters they're using the new models like in the game. So I'm wondering if they just don't want to show off those old models quite so much.
Maybe.
But so I had to go on YouTube and just like, what's a story synopsis of what happened in Fallen Order? Just catch me up because I had totally forgotten, you know?
In 5 minutes.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
Just a quick shout out to Andor, by the way.
Oh my god.
Series.
Watch
I
Andor.
hadn't watched it.
Very good.
You just watched it for the first time recently?
I knew I would like, but let me just say, if you've made the mistake I have and waited too long, but actually I haven't because it was so enjoyable. Wowzer. Probably my favorite Star Wars series. You need to get several episodes but just the vision, the execution, and Star Wars storytelling, but the acting, the character, the casting. Whoo! What a banger.
Like,
can't wait.
Everything about it is fantastic, right? It's like just everything about it is fantastic. I can't wait for season 2. It's got to be around the corner, right? Season 2?
I don't know. There was a strike, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that's delayed like a lot of things.
Dang it!
There was a trailer 5 days ago, though, so no, you'd think it's this year.
Might be this year. Yeah, for sure.
I think Andor might be the best Star Wars thing ever. To be honest with you,
I would agree with that.
It's very, very good.
By the end of it, by the last episode, you're ready to join the rebellion. Like, you're there. Yes. every episode, like once you get like maybe 2 or 3 in, I think it's by like the 3rd episode, you're like, every episode becomes like a movie, and it's like completely separate locale sometimes, and just different setting, different, and it just keeps going and keeps getting bigger, and you're like, how, but yet stays super personal and like very connected to the individuals that you've been following somehow, and it just plays it perfectly. Oh, it's so good.
It is really good. I recently watched Ahsoka as well. I had kind of waited until that series was finished. To resubscribe to Disney Plus. Is that what it's called? Disney Plus?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Kind of a slow starter, but really ramps up toward the end. I quite enjoyed the kind of end of it.
That's the one that I needed the recap on. I needed a recap for the Clone War, like everything. I had YouTube fill me in a bit, but I haven't followed with those series, and so it was very like the whole time I was watching, I was like, I'm missing something. There is some stuff going on here.
I cannot watch the Clone Wars. I've tried so many times and I just can't do it. And people tell me you just got to get past the first season. I'm like, that's like 30 hours though. Come on, dude. That's a lot of TV.
Quick correction. Yeah, it looks like Andor season 2 is due for 2024, but they delayed it out of 2024. So it's definitely next year.
Oh, okay, 2025.
Oh, yeah, or I don't know that they confirmed
it's
when.
It's January 11th next year. It's so far away.
It really is. We got a lot of games to play in the meantime, so that's
true.
They're talking
Speaking of which,
in chat too, by the way.
They are talking. I haven't seen the teaser. I need to go check it.
Me neither.
For what?
Yeah.
For what?
Severance. Severance is probably my favorite TV show ever.
I gotta watch.
That ended on a cliffhanger too.
It has been a long time since I watched a show, and like at the end, I was like out of my seat. Like what? Like it's so good.
It's so good.
Streaming service? That's Apple TV, right?
Apple, yeah.
Fargo is having a new season as well. Fargo is.
I've been watching it.
That's on my list.
Have y'all not watched it?
Fargo. The last episode is in like 6 days. I got like a timer on my watch for when it goes live. I can't wait.
It's been good, right, Briar?
Fargos are always good though, right? Yeah. I need to watch, I think, the previous season too, but I feel like they've all been really good.
They're insane. They're really good.
Some of them though, they like lose some of them lose like that. I don't know. They've got a certain vibe to it that has that nicety to it.
Yeah.
But like it's got that grittiness underneath it. And I feel like the last 2 seasons maybe lost it a little bit, but maybe the last season. But this season, like it feels like it's back to the roots of like season 1.
Just the first episode is like knock your socks off. Like, oh my God.
All right, that's good stuff.
Yeah, Fargo's good stuff.
I did want to bring up real quick. We haven't played it yet. It's not out yet, but the reviews did hit for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
I was watching MeJP play this. He's got an early copy. I was watching him before the show, and man, this looks good.
It is on an 86 on Metacritic.
Oh,
okay. Which is that's up there.
Yeah,
that's up there for especially for it's for a 2D Metroidvania, which you do not see very much outside of indie developers. So I've been very excited to see, what a AAA studio can really do with something like this. And it looks like it's doing really well. So I can't wait to play it. It officially comes out on the 18th of this month. But if you are subscribed to Ubisoft Plus, you can play it on the 15th.
And there's a demo available right now, which I downloaded as I told Briar that you should check out the demo.
Like, what demo?
So as we were starting the show, I was like, I was playing the tutorial like just to feel it real fast. So I just got the feel of it. I was like, looks great. Immediately you have, your basic combat, basic slide, jump. It's just exactly how it looks. And you're like, that looks pretty good. So far it's playing like that. So, I mean, I didn't really like play much, but it feels good and looks really good. I can't imagine that if you're looking for that type of game that given the reviews, that it's not going to be really solid. So very briefly, I can just say it looked really nice on PC. So
I'm really excited for
very
this. The combat
excited
looks
for
awesome. Like the world looks awesome. I just can't decide what platform I'm going to play it on. It's really my only
Yeah, it's got parry. That's the good news right off the gate. It's got a slide, and like the animations are really nice. Yeah, I mean, you can tell. Like, I was just monkeying around with the gameplay and like, tried out the dodge, which is a slide on the ground, slide under, but also at the end, if you hit your attack, you kick up. But if you don't, you can also jump out of that and then hold A to jump longer. All the sort of obvious stuff, but like you can tell the thoughts there. It's not just like basic. It's
I
gonna
can't
feel
wait
really
for
nice,
it.
I think so.
Very, very, very much so looking forward to it.
Cool.
Yeah. Very cool. Anything else? Do we want to do Twitter questions? Oh, Fran, I want to hear about 150 hours worth of.
I feel like where's TV, man? He's the Starfield guy.
He's played a lot of Starfield. It's true.
I can at least update you that I beat Starfield finally, decided to beat it after, the 150 hours. So the big news I have to report is that after hearing so much about New Game Plus, and I won't spoil the details, I was just like, because I put so much time into it, and it's not exactly just the New Game Plus where you keep everything and, you have your skills, but basically you lose all your other stuff. And like, I've invested in a base and my ship, and I had all this money, and I was like, I don't get they present you with the option and everything. And so I walked it back. I was like, seems interesting. There's some things you can do, but there's no draw for me personally. New Game Plus, just so you know, is something that people were playing through multiple times. I think it's more for the people that power through and you sort of play it multiple times in a row, and you're less so at the deep depth of doing everything in the world. That's my guess. It's probably more for those people. But I was like, ooh, okay, I'm at a really nice place. So I actually walked it back, went and did a side quest, like classic random Bethesda side quest, where a long time ago in the beginning of the game, I met a DJ, and she's totally high out of her mind. And there's a super fan that stole one of her mixes or something. And you literally just go track down the guy, and he's like, whoa, man, what's up? It's totally cliche and ridiculous. And I was like, this is simple, but it's funny. And this is what I came for. And I don't want to erase New Game Plus wasn't for me right now. So I know there's some other things in there, but because I have so much more to play out, I'm going to come back to Starfield another time, finish the side quest, build my base out. I don't want to have to play through, the main quest and also work to get all of my money and all this other stuff back. That's just not for me personally. So
it sounds like they're confirming that in chat too. Bunny's saying if you spend a lot of time in your first play, Game Plus just isn't really appealing. Just confirming everything you're saying.
It's not designed for those folks. And that I've talked about it a lot with Starfield. By the way, I do think Starfield is a good game. I know it's got a lot of crap from people. I would still put it right around the 8 out of 10 kind of mark, which for me is a good game, man. I'm happy with it, but there's a bunch of stuff that it missed on and could have done better. But the breadth of it is amazing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of going back and, like I said, those classic little side quests, but even the depth of I want more, some of the skills and base building I want to do at some point. And it really is, it's a huge, curious, experience. So it still holds up on that front, but I'm done with it for now. I got other stuff to play. I just wanted to quickly mention Dead Space remake.
Oh yeah.
I started it last year. We were coming up on the 1-year anniversary. It's part of, I believe, PC Game Pass, possibly Game Pass. I was a little confused because it's part of EA Play. And in any event, check it out if you haven't. But man, I went back to that and I remember liking it. And all I can say is I was like, wow, this game kind of got snubbed a little, even because it is an old game, but it is so modernized and so high quality and so good looking on PC, especially. But I mean, I assume on consoles, next gen consoles was pretty good too. But really, just a very high quality game. I'm not even finished it, even though I finished it in 2009 or whatever. But they add stuff to it. It's totally modernized, high quality game, and I love what they did with the immersion. And anyway, just if you haven't played it, it's one of my favorite games of last year. And
it's on my list.
Going back
probably
to it,
should have done that between Liza P.
It's not a super long game,
right?
Yeah,
right.
And it reminded me, as someone who really defended Callisto, as look, Callisto has the beginnings of, as the team that made Dead Space, certainly the director, Glenn, has some of the makings of like, yeah, there's some really cool, beautiful stuff in here, but the combat and the gating of some of the stuff. But then you play Dead Space Remake, and they added to it Motive, by the way, who is now developing the Iron Man game. Got me excited about getting in the suits, but
interesting.
You realize what made Dead Space so special and how it did clearly have more time and just more polish, even though it was, 14 years old or whatever. But man, check it out. So good.
Are they planning on remastering the whole series, or is it just one and done with the first one?
I believe there was chatter about there may or may not be like anytime soon, like a Dead Space 2 remake, because I thought, again, I would want to confirm it. There was talk of like it didn't quite perform it, but they're working on Iron Man, and I don't think EA is in a hurry right now. But that's why you should go support it. It's really good. Don't think of it as a remake. Just think of like it's a modern survival horror game in a spaceship that's kind of Metroid meets Alien, and it's awesome. Yeah. Gruesome.
One of my favorite games
of remakes. Do we know what Blue Point is working on yet?
Let's hope Bloodborne.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think we know.
Real question.
Oh God, I hope.
I'm gonna Google WTF Blue Point.
Fran's just got me hyped about the Iron Man suit. Like if it's anything like the feeling of Dead Space getting that suit on, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
On Unreal Engine 5, they said they're working on it. It's going to be gorgeous because Dead Space on the Frostbite engine showed the prowess of that team. So
you know what it is? That game, a Dead Space, they've got this, and I'm sure they've brought that feel because I haven't played the remake. I've just played the original, and so like in my head though, I still have memories of just it's like feels physical, like you like getting in that suit, and like that's something that happened even in the Avengers like movies. Over time, it got less and less like just textured and more like nanotechnology and everything. It doesn't feel as like grounded, and like for them to bring that into an Iron Man game would be awesome. That would be so cool.
Yeah,
it would be. Yeah,
cannot wait for that one. It's going to be a while though.
Rumor they're working on an original game, not a remake. Blue Point.
Oh, there was that rumor, yeah. And then this is the developer that did Demon's Souls remake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, there is a rumor they're doing something of their own, but I don't know the credibility of it. Either way, I'll take whatever they're slinging.
I am going to be checking out a new game very, very soon. I got early access to it. It's called Pacific Drive.
I've heard about this.
So, yeah, it was one that I saw that I was like, ooh, I'm kind of interested in that. So what it is it's there's supernatural dangers in this place called the Olympic Exclusion Zone. And you're driving this car trying to survive this survival adventure. So you have to go out. You have to scavenge resources. You've got to upgrade the car, and you're basically driving through hell trying to make it out alive on the other side. So it's the idea is that it's a first person driving survival game where you just have your car. That's it. It's just you and your car. So I was really interested because it looked pretty cool. It's going to be pretty scary. I like the idea that you're kind of going out and scavenging and being like, oh, Jesus Christ, and then upgrading your car. So yeah, I'm excited to check it out. It's going to make me scream a lot, probably.
Yeah, they call it a first-person driving survival game.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a survival game. There's a little bit of mud runners in there. There's a little bit of creepiness in there. There's all sorts of cool stuff in this game.
Yeah, the trailers have caught my eye. That one, Watts has always been making fun of me on that one because I play SnowRunner and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this is a Fran game for sure. You drive your station wagon around, and it's like, I mean, Mud Runner was the first one. You're right, Briar.
Okay.
Then SnowRunner, and all
They're
kinds
making
of runners.
A new one of those too.
Yeah, it's like a SnowRunner 2. I forget what it's being called. It's got a better name than that, but yeah. By the way, Pacific Drive, I guess, is like a $25 to $30 game. Yeah, $30 game, I guess.
$30 game. Yeah.
When are you playing this?
So I have access to it until January 16th. So I'm probably going to do it either at the weekend or early next week.
I'd like to watch you do this. This looks like fun.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. Awesome. It looks cool.
Yeah, it does. I'm curious how it'll be. Like the thing that I want to ask you about after you play it is because there's this thing that first person horror does that really puts you like in the scene whenever there's nothing around you. And for you to be in a car, like, is it gonna feel as visceral having the car around you driving through horror element type stuff?
Let's hope not, Lego. Let's hope not.
Or will it feel even more impactful if there's like a cutscene where you get thrown out of the car for a second? You're like, oh wait, no, my protection.
You do leave the car to go scavenge.
You do
right?
leave the car to go scavenge. Yeah. So I think that might actually be more intense in that you kind of have this feeling of maybe safety in your car, and then you're forced to leave that safety. So instead of you just being like, I'm in a place I don't want to be the whole time, it's like you have this bit of a feeling of like, oh, safety, and then you leave, and it kind of adds to that intensity. So I'm very interested because it is a unique spin on a kind of survival horror game. So
for sure,
that's awesome.
We'll see what it's like.
I'm excited to watch you play this.
Yeah.
Nope.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'm excited.
Anybody got anything else before we do Twitter questions?
There's a Cult of the Lamb update.
Oh, there is.
Is it tomorrow?
New DLC?
Yeah, new DLC, new weapon, new they added sex. Sins of the Flesh. That's what it's called. Sex in the game.
You buried the lead.
God damn.
Yeah, I'm saying. They added sex. The sex is in there. So you can now sex up your cult members.
Your chat is going to be
before you
crazy.
kill them.
The lambs are
They're going to be
crazy.
sexing each other up. Hope you guys are ready.
That's awesome. Is it a free update or is it a paid DLC?
It's a free
$69.
$69.
It is. It's a free update. I did get a list of everything that was in there. I can check it real quick. But yeah, it's a full like DLC that they're adding to it. It has. I know it has a new
of an update.
So it comes out. Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow is when like Twitch drops and stuff are going to be active.
Is this the second DLC they've added to that game?
Ooh, I don't. Maybe the second. Yeah,
they did a patch.
They've done a few because they've done a big one. They had a big update. Yeah, they had a big update, and then they've had a smaller update as well. But yeah, I don't know. They've had a few. But this adds. They add a blunderbuss. So.
That's a practical
lame with
weapon.
a gun.
Yeah, it's like a good Sea of Thieves weapon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have a new sin system, which is a whole new currency that you're generating. So that we don't know what that's going to be used for, but new rituals, buildings, resources, achievements, new poop variants.
Oh, thank God.
Okay.
And quality of life stuff. So yeah, this is definitely one of their bigger updates.
I actually just got a physical copy. It's delivered to my house. It was like it took a year to get here. Like it was one of those order it and then it took a year to get delivered. So I'm actually excited to bust back into that game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb is just really well polished game. Yeah. Like that is a super polished game. Very fun.
Very fun. It's got a lot of cool stuff going on.
Check it out. That was also last year, or was that 2022?
That was 20. That was the same year as Elden Ring.
Yeah. August of 20. Okay. I was like, wait. So many good games.
All right, Twitter questions. Lone Wolf says, has there been an underrated game that no one's been talking about, but you've personally played, thoroughly enjoyed from last year? Last year.
Underrated.
From last
year. Dead Space. No, it was rated very highly, but everyone forgot about it.
I mean, Jedi Survivors. I don't know if Survivor really would be. No one's talking about it. I think plenty of people talked about it. I think it was rated just right. I think it's better now than it was, but.
I kind of slacked last year on playing more hidden games because it was so crazy with all the games that came out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have a good answer for that.
I think Fran had a pretty good answer with Dead Space, honestly. That did kind of
but kind of
by. Right? Even like Resident Evil 4 remake kind of overshadowed it.
Oh, totally. That's why I brought it up. Like, man, part of me wants to play Resident Evil 4 Remake next, which I am a massive fan of that game. I haven't played the remake yet, but I was like, why? Everybody talked about that, which is actually, by the way, historically a little more like cheesier and like but in a good way, because that's what makes it great. But I was like, Dead Space is so good.
Yeah.
What made it get overshadowed? So I kind of have to play that now.
The second half of Resident Evil 4 is by far like some of my favorite video game in the world. It's so fun.
Get out the mansion.
Like the I don't know, are they priests? Like the clergy? Oh, I love those guys.
Say it, Ambrose.
Oh, are we? There's people in chat are saying that Remnant 2 was underrated.
Really?
I guess so. See the circles that I'm in, I hear a lot about, like, everyone was playing Remnant 2 and everyone loved Remnant 2 and it was at the Game Awards. I mean, I think it could have been at the Game Awards more, but Remnant 2, all I heard was how amazing it was from
Remnant
like everyone.
1 was underrated. Remnant 2, I felt
Remnant 1 was underrated. Yeah, I agree with that.
2, I feel like it got a lot of recognition.
Look, the reality is they want to talk about Pikmin, Briar. Doesn't get talked about enough.
Never heard of it.
Underrated. One of the best games of last year. And, you should have just said so, chat. Let's get our Pikmin update from Briar.
I got a new in-box copy. I'm keeping it pristine.
every week he polishes off the dust. And
that's right.
Looking good, Pikmin. It's got the plastic wrap on it, though. He's like, next time. Then he goes back and plays frickin' Liza P and Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Liza P is amazing.
It is.
What else?
Amazing game.
Zabe says, based on the shit show that is Twitter/X, do you think he'll switch to Discord questions or stay here? That's not a bad idea, honestly.
Yeah,
having the
or a mix of both.
Yeah. It's really not a bad idea.
Well, you're gonna have to post social
to
get him to post, because I mean that's only partially true. Yeah, but meaning I'm sure the biggest reach is on there.
On Twitter or
yeah. People have to join the Discord, so it's a bit more of a.
That's true.
You have to buy into it a bit more.
Really, we don't maintain the Discord that way.
You know what we do?
No,
I got an idea, Briar.
Yeah,
bit of a views driver too. You get them go on the YouTube version for last week.
Oh, we
and
post your question there.
But yeah, it's kind of like it would take over the comments probably, but
which might not be a bad thing.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, people have already seen the episode for that week, so maybe not a bad idea.
That isn't a bad idea. Because basically the only reason I look at Twitter is on Thursdays to look at this.
He hates it otherwise.
Or to look, I had a so if anybody knows a good electric jar opener, I'm trying to buy one for my mother who's like having trouble. She's got like elbow and wrist pain. So like, hey, if anybody knows, I tried to ask on Twitter. I didn't get much engagement on Twitter about the electric.
Anybody listening to this video game podcast knows about an automatic jar opener.
Wait, like a can opener?
No, a jar opener.
Okay, so like a pickles?
Yeah, like a jar of pickles.
Okay.
Like a Fran doesn't know what dino nuggies are and doesn't know what a jar is.
Okay, what's
going on over there, Fran?
No, for a real question. Have you ever seen an electric jar opener?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You have? Okay.
I know that those exist.
If you find a good one, Briar, let me know. I'd be interested in that because jars can be annoying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
When I Google it, and I'm not like, you do need this type of stuff, but like the first search results are electric jar openers for seniors, electric jar openers for arthritis. So obviously, there's some people, regardless of your age, that you're gonna have wrist issues and arm issues, etc. So
it's
you went too hard on the controller.
See, like I come to her house now, and
I hate Twitter. Electric
my mother
jar
asked
openers,
me to come to her house and open multiple jars, and then I tighten them loosely, and I put them in the fridge for her because she can't open jars.
Okay,
I'm laughing because of the distinction between your mom and my mom, who's like, "Hey, come change my air filter," and yours is like, "Hey, come open all these jars."
Did she make you some dino nuggies, like a little snack?
No, I'm not 3.
Okay. Exactly. Thank you. Just proved my point across multiple episodes. No, he admitted it. Clip it. I told you it was for kids. I don't got kids. I don't know why everybody's talking about dino nuggies. I didn't know what they were, and that's why.
Because you were never a kid. Because you were never a child and have never been to a grocery store.
I know, it's true. A miserable existence.
My life would be 10 times better if I never went to a grocery store. It's the worst place on earth.
That's pretty bad.
Go Faster than You says, has anyone at the show worked a corporate job before? I did for 5 years, and I still hate that I gave my time to that job. The Bungie firings were actually not that bad as at a human level, but normal for corporate. What were your best and worst jobs?
Oh, gosh.
I've
only had bad jobs except this one. So all the others have been bad because it's like working at a food place, working at like customer service. It's just been that like the whole time. I guess my corporate job was I did like data entry for a online pet store that doesn't exist anymore. It was like it was a smaller one, but it's like just data. Oh, dude, you just sit there with like spreadsheets and a website, and you just sit there all day, and you're just putting in like.
Was it like product info?
Yeah, product info. Yeah. Yep.
Tags, descriptions.
Yep. Tags, description.
Category.
Very fun. Yep. And then I would also partly sometimes do customer support for that as well. Not great.
Yeah.
Not the best time.
Yeah, got to be very boring and some very long days when you're doing that type of stuff. I've done that type of work, but not too much of it.
Data entry stuff. And also like with the customer support thing, it's like, I can tell you that we're going to get this fixed, but I do not control it at all. So then I'm like, yeah, we're on top of it. Don't worry. And then I'm like, can we please fix this? And it doesn't happen. And they come back and they're like, what's going on? Did not like that.
Control it. They just tell me to say this.
I'm telling them what's going on. They're not listening.
The worst job I ever had in Connecticut is customary to go to college and then go work at an insurance company. It's like the biggest thing in Connecticut is the insurance companies. And I worked for a summer job while I was in college. It was like, like get your foot in the door, go work at the insurance company. And I was like, this cannot be what life is going to be. Like I cannot do this. It was like just 8 hours of fluorescent lights and cubicles and people like pretending to be nice, but they're actually fucking stabbing you in the back constantly. And I was 18 and I was like, no, this can't be it. This can't be it. Office Space also came out that summer. So I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, it was really on your mind. Yeah.
So that was the worst job I ever had.
Back. Baseball bat.
It basically, like, I rearranged my life at that point that I can't ever do that. Like, that's just not in the cards for me. Best job I ever had was a pizza delivery boy. Loved it. Driving around.
You told us about that.
Yeah, Briar loved delivering pizza.
It was the best. If every job paid the same, $100,000 a year. If every job paid $100,000 a year, that's the job I would go for. Pizza delivery boy.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people would deliver pizzas if it paid $100,000 a year plus tips. Yeah. Exactly. Banking, dude.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, most of my corporate life was up through the ranks of IGN. So I have like lots of different versions there, but on the sort of the non-corporate side, I mean, I could still pick stuff there. I mean, yeah, like once I got, ironically, like towards the end there, once I got to those higher ranks, that's when I was like, man, being, vice president of video and taking a bunch of sales meetings and people are leaving. So what are we going to do to replace that thing? And what's the budget? And that's where it was way less fun because like you carry all the stress of the organization and like, it was really fun to learn, but I realized I just liked making the content so much more.
It's hard to go backward too, right? Like you can't go, you know what? I don't like this. Can I just go back to being can't really go back.
Like hire myself to do to just be a producer and host. But before that, shortly during like a summer during high school, I think, or maybe it was right after. But yeah, I was a vacuum salesman.
Oh, whoa.
In the middle of nowhere, in the Midwest. Oh my God. I didn't realize it was like just shy of like, I was like, wait, was this a cult or something? Like it wasn't, but meaning like you'd go, you'd give them the brochure and you would just need the 20 minutes of the time. But it was that whole like part of it was they were taking it because you told them it was a timeshare thing too. but it was really about
Was it
getting
also
the
you can sell, if you sell 2 vacuum cleaners to your family and you get them to sell 2 vacuum cleaners, you can make
it was totally
big
a
vacuum
Ponzi.
money.
It was a disaster. Like
Wow.
like years later, I was like, wait, that was, and they were all like kids, like basically people between 17 to 20. The entire organization was just kids trying to like not work at McDonald's. Like you wanted something.
Probably around the same time, I had a friend who was like, I got this really good opportunity. It's selling knives. Now I have to buy the knives initially.
I had a Knife Co. friend.
I have to buy
No,
the
Bob,
knives
I don't want any
front,
fucking knives, dude. I'm 17.
And then they just become the people that are just like, hey, you want to buy these knives that I've sunk like $900 into buying?
Nope.
Please buy my goddamn knives.
And that was it though. That's what made, I realized looking back, that's what made it one of the worst jobs, was that I was like just kind of trying to get in people's home to sell them a vacuum cleaner by offering them a timeshare thing. And then they realizing later they felt bad because obviously I was this dumb kid from like just trying to get out of high school, etc. And like the whole system, I was like, wow, we were all taken advantage of. They were taken advantage of. What a terrible job. From a labor standpoint, I've definitely had, I feel like, worse jobs that were more like physically uncomfortable, etc. But you know what I mean? It was more the mental, like, oh, this just was gross to look back on. But hey, crazy. We also have to survive. If that's your job out there and you got a timeshare for me, hit me up.
Mine does go into the physical, I feel like, because when I was like 15, 14, something like that, some guys would like live out kind of outside the city, and so there were some guys that are like, we're gonna go like help this farmer like do this stuff, whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can get some extra money, I'll come with y'all. And it was just baling hay, like just tossing it up on the trailer. Oh my gosh, dude, it was just so like your arms are just like bleeding afterwards, and you're just throwing stuff like super heavy into this trailer like all day, dude. It was awful. I was like, outside work is just not for me, man.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because this question has come up before, and I've brought it up on a past SideQuest, or the hay baling I've done before briefly. And I was trying to remember where I was like, you just pick up these huge round bales of hay and throw them on the truck. And you're just scraped up. And also you have like histamines, because like, at least I did, like I don't know if you're allergicness, but like all of like whatever's in hay just like triggers skin itching and awful.
God, it was terrible. And it's like, 100 degrees here. It was awful. But best job is probably like reverse of what you were saying, Fran, how like you got up to the top and then it was like, okay, you're over this stuff and have to do all the managerial stuff. I did go backwards because just recently, as of November, I guess, I let go of the video company that I was like created and was managing. And I was like, okay, like I don't want to do this managerial stuff anymore, secretarial stuff. I'm just not in it. And so now I just go and lead shoot for other people, but I don't take any of the work. But it's like I just built a name for myself as a creator.
Give the memory cards industry. Over, like you just hand them over.
And so I just Google Drive it. No, I literally just throw it up on Google. I don't even deliver it. I just upload it, and that's it. And so I get paid like about I'm probably more than half of what I would if I would have just done the gig myself. And it's like, because I do everything, like all my gear, it's everything. And so it really is like just one of the best jobs I could ask for. You're
doing the enjoyable part of it.
Exactly. I'm like, I get to go and shoot and film and be on location, eat great food, and and then I just upload it. It's a big long day, but it's fun.
I hear that from like game devs a lot, because they're like, they started as designer and they're like making things, and that's really fun. And then as you get promoted, it's like, well, now you're just in meetings and answering emails. You're not actually doing like the fun part of game dev that you really got into it for and really loved.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what my photography job was like. I just take the pictures, I put them in an envelope, and I ship them off, and I'm like, done with that.
Probably the best part of it is not dealing with clients too. Like I don't have to keep up with they just literally, I don't even look at the timeline until like the day before, just like, here's the shoot, okay, cool. Boom, I'm there, got you.
Charge your batteries, show up on time.
Exactly. God, that is important.
Grim Invictus Hive God of Lore says, since this will be the last season ever, and the story is over, I thought it appropriate to ask, out of all the Destiny season, which one has been your favorite? Mine was Seraph because of the plot, and I'm obsessed with Rasputin and Warmind Technologies' black angular aesthetic.
The best season ever.
I always bring up Season of the Splicer because all the time I'm talking about it, but there was something about the vibe, the like synth vibe, as well as again the activities. For me, I thought were really interesting. That there was some more third person like run the ball through the gauntlet mechanics, and I thought that was going to go somewhere, and it never did. But that one, for that reason, stands out to me.
I don't remember the name, but what was the one where the Fallen moved into like the tower, and what's her name from Future Warcraft went crazy?
Wasn't that Splicer?
Was that Splicer? Okay, that's
because they all come live with us, and
I don't remember
Future Warcraft's going wild, and that one was pretty crazy. Yeah,
that was part of that one.
Maybe it wasn't, because Splicer was all about his daughter. And...
Chat will let us know.
Yeah, Splicer was all about what's his name? The Fallen dude, right?
Oh, we've done a lot with the Elixir. No. I think those are the same season, because the
Yeah.
one with his daughter and the other Fallen is the pirate season.
Yes.
That's different. Yeah.
Pirates thing was different. Yep.
Yeah. That was a good one too.
Okay, chat has mine. The one where we save Saint. That is just my favorite.
Cool.
Like, I remember like being like, there's no way we're gonna like actually like find Saint and like all this stuff. Like because it's just so heavily in the lore. And like whenever we got that voice actor in and we hear his lines for the first time, I'm like, oh, this guy should be doing Crucible stuff. And then now it's the voice of Trials, is Saint. And just the moment that he entered the scene and just what Osiris did to save him, like the whole thing is just great. It had one of the first, the sundial was like okay too. Just the idea of it was cool though. It had this like interstellar kind of vibe almost. I loved it.
It's hard for me to pick, to be honest. It's like my favorite time in Destiny was when they introduced Trials in D1, but that was not a season. That was an expansion.
Menagerie.
Yeah. Menagerie was definitely good. I do think chat has a pretty good point though, that the reason it was loved so much is because it was bugged.
Yeah.
If it was designed to be that way, it was great. And it should have been like that. Cause there was no crafting or anything.
Cash out on the chest every week or something, or
being able to do the chest running back and forth. Yeah. For the chest.
Like the mad chest dash.
I love those moments in Destiny in general, where you see other people doing that and you're like, oh, look at them go. We're all running back and forward to the chest. I've always liked stuff like that. And it was all RNG, so it could take you one run of it or it could take you multiple. But I always think that, and I know this goes against the live service kind of model, but I think it's better that you had a player super invested in your game by doing something over and over and over again, and they can't stop until they get what they want, and they just keep going except how do I put it? I think it is better that a player is playing the thing over and over again in like one day. Say I play for 20 hours in one day and get what I want, than me playing for multiple weeks, but it ends up being 20 hours over multiple weeks. I think that is better for the player. And I think that with the chest being bugged, it had that thing where I wanted to play all the time and grind it out. Because what happens with me is if it's on a lockout system where I can only do it once a week, I end up not wanting to keep doing it every week. Whereas if I can farm it over and over again, I want to keep doing it. And that happened with me and like the cowboy stuff from the dungeon. I farmed that dungeon until I got the cowboy cape to drop. It was like 10 hours. In one stream just being in a dungeon, which is very rare for me. But if it was locked out, I still probably wouldn't have that cape because I would have lost interest in doing it, once a week to get it.
That's my biggest problem with the seasonal model, is that they kind of want you to come back kind of day after day, week after week for very small periods of time. And that's just not the way my brain works. When I do stuff, I get obsessed with it. I want to play for hours. I don't want a timer or a a watch telling me when to do what. I just want to play my way. So I've
Yeah,
never really
that's a
dug
good
the seasonal model.
reminder on that. I remember asking you a lot on these shows, and you're like, I just want to play it all at once and have it available all at once. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting.
But the seasonal model still doesn't work. Like I can't just like wait and do what Lego did this week because it's just not an enjoyable loop of content.
Yeah.
It's obviously not created to be like that.
Right.
Ang says,
Watts,
oh, go ahead.
Real quick, the season that Watts mentioned also had Revoker and Hush
It did
come
have
into play, which was like one of my favorite times in the Crucible. So that's crazy.
Revoker just feels good too. I was, even if it didn't have that perk on it, it's just a really good feeling sniper.
We got 0 hour in Season of the Drifter, and that was pretty awesome. But I hated Season of the Drifter in every other way.
Ang says, have you guys been playing the finals? I'm really enjoying it both solo and with my friends, but I'm worried about the longevity. How long this game will last. I don't want this to become another instance like Hyperscape where the game just dies because it's just another shooter.
Yeah, I haven't played recently. Mostly just because like I've been playing Monster Hunter. I think if I didn't jump back into Monster Hunter, I would have been weaving it into my playtime. But yeah, I haven't played recently, and I do really like it. I don't know how they're gonna make it stick around because I think you'd have to introduce new things for people to be like, "Oh, I want to jump back in and try that out," or you have to do like big balance patches where it's like, "Oh, that thing that kind of sucked is actually seeming pretty good." So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to check it out.
I hope it could stick around.
Good things, but again, getting into the depth of something and having to stick with it, I'm just like, I just want to have time. There's too much competition out there, and I just been sticking with Halo Infinite as I've been talking about it. And I'm gonna keep on that because it's so fun.
I'd like to try it out. I just haven't had a chance yet.
It's good.
And I'm actually good
genuinely
at it,
really
rare. It's a rare moment when I'm good at a PvP game.
It's a good game.
The Super Zero says, what type of gun could Bungie make or bring back that would be most interesting and fun?
Plan C.
Plan C would be good.
Oh.
But that's just a personal exotic fave. But type of gun to bring back?
Sniper rifle with no scope called.
Does it create or bring back?
No Land Beyond.
Yeah.
No Land Beyond. I'm surprised that never came back.
I'm not. It breaks special ammo rules. So anything that does that, they're like, nope.
They could change that.
You kind of got it with what's that pulse that like once you get so many headshots, Merc's gun.
Revision 0.
Yeah, Revision 0. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. You can get sniper shots with that.
I don't feel like they need to bring back. I mean, there's guns like Plan C that's great, but yeah, like seeing trace rifles, actually seeing like the evolution of swords and new types of weapon. Like honestly, that's been really refreshing. The game has changed a lot. It's easy to forget, but everything explodes now when it comes to PvE. So you kind of need to move in that direction.
I just want them to keep creating things that I wouldn't think of, like a rocket sidearm. That I love it. It's awesome. Something new that's different. Yeah. Ooh, I really like the new perk that they came out with this season. It's not really good this season, but I can see the potential. Permeability, or when you dodge, it makes your weapon that subclass. And they don't have it yet where it mixes with Volt Shot or Incandescent, but imagine next season we get one that has permeability in one column and like Volt Shot in the next column. Then you could run like your Falcons on your Hunter, dodge, go Void, and then have explosive Volt Shot rounds at the same time, something like that. So there's a lot of potential there in the future.
Yeah.
Rex has 2 questions. One, if Shax asked you to make a hype video, could be about anything, with him screaming in the background, what would it be for, and what would a script look like? Well, it'd be for Dino Nuggets. I mean,
mine
Shax's
would be
going ham.
It would be him screaming at people to turn off digital motion while they're watching movies. Like, just like,
I'm on board. Yes, I'm on board.
That's good.
Love
That's
that.
good.
Every time they turn it on and it's like got digital motion, like Shax just busts through like
No,
Kool-Aid
Guardian.
Man. Yeah.
Like the Kool-Aid man of that. What
That's great.
Second
I like
question is: if there was a world championship in killing a dreg in the Cosmodrome, how would you compete?
World Championship.
Sparrows are always a fun way to kill dregs. You could like line them up like bowling pins. That'd be good.
That's good.
Come
I
in, like, kinda
learned
sideways.
I learned a new trick this week that I did not know in Destiny, and that is if you use Prospector as you're laying down a rally flag and blow yourself up with the ragdoll effect, you can plant the flag like on the ceiling and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
And so that's how I would take care of the dreg, is with Prospector.
Nice. Three Brothers, One Controller podcast says, so I finally got a next-gen Xbox S, and I absolutely love it. It makes Destiny feel like a different game, and of course I made the point of view max. Looks amazing. What is your thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo? It plays and looks amazing.
Thanks for that.
Watts, you played Ghostwire Tokyo, right?
I did not.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I wanted to, but there was I forgot what other game was out at the time, but based on what I was hearing about it, I was like, I don't need to play it. So yeah, I didn't play it. The world looked incredible, and from
Elden Ring was out around then.
Oh well, yeah. I think, and especially as Ghostwire Tokyo is an open world game, and I could not play any other open world game after Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Not right after, especially.
Yeah, it wrecked me too, a little bit.
Yeah. So, what I heard about it was that the world was incredible, and they did a really good job of making it feel like you're in Tokyo. So, I was definitely interested in going in and running around in the world, because I heard they did a good job with that.
Congratulations on the new Xbox, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it does change everything.
60 frames.
30 to 120 in the Crucible.
Yeah.
And the FOV.
Cobalt says, hey DCP, have any of you seen the movie Godzilla -1 yet? Honestly, one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Dude, I am really looking forward to seing this. People are talking about this movie like it's the best Godzilla movie ever, but it's not playing in a theater near me, so it's just like I'm gonna have to watch it on TV. You know, like I think it's already like you can rent it on like iTunes or
it's supposed
Apple,
to be very good.
Whatever. Yeah, it's supposed to be awesome.
I would definitely watch it when it's on streaming stuff.
You know, it's great when your dad texts you who does not watch foreign films and is like, "Have you seen this movie? It might be the best movie I've ever seen."
Wow, really?
he like loved it. Yeah,
awesome. Happy New Year, guys. My question: when will DCP do trials with Watts? Peace and love.
When Bungie changes team-based matchmaking. I don't even want to play as a duo in trials these days because I don't want to fight other duos. Trio is not a good. It's not in a good spot.
Yeah, I feel like you got to have a team.
You got to have a
these
team.
days.
Yeah, you got to be like sweated out to enjoy the 3v3 playlist. And even then, enjoy is a strong word.
I think that'll wrap it up for this week.
I play solo only.
Dinner time.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful week. What are you guys looking forward to this week? Watts, you're going to be playing Prince of Persia.
I'm going to play Prince of Persia when I can, the 15th. We're checking out Pacific Drive. I'll also check out Cult of the Lamb at some point.
Nice.
But yeah, streams are going to have to be real long because I will be playing Monster Hunter as well as all of those games. So probably Monster Hunter into those games.
Dang.
Yeah.
Lego, you got anything special coming up?
I'm just gonna get this dang bow from this dungeon. That's my main thing. No, I think I've made it a point that I'm finally gonna dive into Alan Wake 2. I've been playing it off.
Man, I want to do that too.
And one of my friends
this year, I gotta play.
Yeah, one of my friends who like is really into narrative stuff, and he like doesn't. He like wasn't into games that much, and all of a sudden was like into games, and he's just got into Alan Wake. He played through the whole first one. And he's like, dude, you got to just at least start Alan Wake 2 so we can talk about it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it.
Awesome. I can't wait. Fran?
Redfall. You go check out Game Update 3 and dive into Redfall, the best game of last year that nobody played. No, I'm obviously playing Dead Space, but there has still been continued chatter about has Redfall gotten any better. So let us know if you've checked it out, because I'm curious.
God knows I'm not going to check.
Almost been a year, but I know. But no, Dead Space going to finish that up.
Dead Space. I can't wait to hear about it. All right, thank you all for joining us. We'll have a wonderful weekend and
thank
safe
you, everybody.
weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.